Equinox is a frame that has been out for ages, and with that comes many problems. Now in this video I'm going to be focusing on what players don't like about Equinox. As I mentioned, she's been out for a while, and she has a lot going for her. She has support, she has crowd control, she has survivability, she has nuking, and she has a pretty neat gimmick in my opinion. But why do players not play her? It's actually quite simple. Anything she can do, a lot of other frames can do with far less work. It's actually kind of just sad. And regarding that, she has very high demand. Now what I mean by that is augment dependency. First things first, her first ability has pretty low numbers, but it's essential you swap forms between ability casts if you want to stay alive. Well, I guess you could spend the whole time in day form with damage vulnerability and insane damage multiplier, being able to nuke enemies in day form. It's important that you do crowd control enemies and then use something like pacify and provoke, and then mend and maim to increase your health and just survivability in total. But meanwhile, her metamorphosis has pretty low numbers. The damage multiplier isn't that much for the day form, nor is the speed increase, and night form has pretty low shield capacity and armor increase. But they come out with augment mods to help these out. If you use duality, you can have a lot of extra damage for 10 seconds. And if you use push and pull, you can stagger enemies while switching to day form and then knock them down when switching to night form. Next, rest and rage. 5-meter radius is abysmal. I have a 250% range build, and that only gets me to 12.5 meter radius. 5 meters at base is beyond pathetic. So to fix that, they came out with Calm and Frenzy, killing an affected enemy, whether in day or night form of course. You spread that effect to enemies within 5 meters for 100% of the remaining duration. So it effectively, so long as they're within 5 meters of each other, infinitely goes around the room, so you can infinitely crowd control an entire tile set or infinitely spread damage vulnerability to an entire tile set, so long as they're crammed together. But 5 meters regardless is still abysmal. Next, pacify and provoke. This one is quite bizarre. Provoke gives up to 50% strength to you and allies, which hardly matters to Equinox. That helps for allies, but Equinox doesn't revolve around strength at all. And then Pacify reduces damage done by each enemy in range up to 80% at way past 300% strength. But this gets much weaker the further the enemy is from you. Now, Provoke costs energy per squad ability cast while it's active, and Pacify costs enemy per enemy attack. And then they came out with their Augment mod. Her Augment mod, Pacify converts damage done to allies into an aura that slows enemies by 40%, and then Provoke converts damage done to enemies into 15% extra ability strength, which, might I add, still doesn't mean shit for Equinox. This is easily her worst ability in my opinion. It makes her extremely cast heavy, it drains energy like crazy, it's just not good. Next, her 4. Her 4 is her nuking ability, her bread and butter I suppose. Her 4 stores 75% of killed enemy health as either a healing nuke or a damage nuke. Now, this is also completely unaffected by strength. So, when maim, your day form, is active, you periodically do slash damage to surrounding enemies. It's not a slash proc, sadly. This part does scale with strength, but it's literally not even worth it. There's no point in building a strength build around it. You're better off just dealing a shit ton of damage to enemies with your weapons and storing that instead of focusing on strength to scale it with. Because the periodic slash damage that occurs when you walk around literally does nothing. You're better off just using the big final explosion at the very end. Now, Mend restores shields to squad when an enemy dies in the range. And when you activate it at the end, it restores health and shield for her and her allies, which is pretty good. But again, it doesn't revolve around strength at all. You literally have no reason to build for strength there, is what I'm trying to get to. But her Augment mod is energy transfer. The energy you build up in either form transfers when you switch. This is incredibly important because if you were hoping to get off a quick nuke, but you're in your night form, you built up, let's say, 10 million damage. If you didn't have energy transfer, the moment you use Metamorphosis to head over to your day form, and then if you were to press Mend and Maim again, you just simply wouldn't nuke it. All the energy would be gone. You'd have to pretty much just start from anew, which would suck. It would be detrimental, essentially. Basically, in short, she's completely reliant on augments, and the numbers are extraordinarily low. They need to bump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers. She is usable for sure, but she requires full investment. Now, build-wise, she's quite easy to build. You can build a basic nuke build with no Forma whatsoever. This is a basic nuke build right here. No Forma, high range, high efficiency, so you can continuously cast over and over again. You don't even need the strength of transient fortitude. I just put on a little bit, so damage vulnerability has something to go for. And then more augmented, just because. You can feel free to change anything revolving strength and duration. As I said, it literally doesn't matter. All you need is high range because the radius for this stuff is incredibly low, especially rest and rage, and then efficiency so you can continuously cast and switch forms when you need to. That is pretty much one of the main reasons people hate her. She requires an absurd amount of investment. You need to get augment mods depending on what kind of build you're going for. With just energy transfer, you can still nuke, but your other abilities are a bit weak, especially rest and rage. You almost need the second ability's augment mod to be able to make her work in higher level content. Now, with everything I just mentioned, this leads to another problem she has. Understanding her is a bitch and a half. There's just too much misinformation around her. Hell, I'm not even deep diving. There's just too much misinformation about what she can do, her abilities and everything like that players just get turned off from her. It's a huge problem. It's with every single Warframe, so it's best you do your own research to find out what they do, rather than just watching a video and hoping to glean everything. But she has so much with her, and at the same time, somehow, it's all super weak. So newer frames, any frame that got a rework in the past year, any frame that came out in the past 3 years, they can nuke much better than her. They can probably support better too. And it all requires far less investment. I'll show you how to nuke with her really quickly. It's incredibly simple. You can go ahead cast 4 Mended Main on her day form, and then you can cast 2 to damage vulnerability enemies. If you want, you can switch to night form to tie down enemies with crowd control. Then, whether you're in your day or night form, it doesn't really matter. Just go ahead, kill as many enemies as you possibly can. You'll figure out the sweet spot yourself depending on your own damage, because as I mentioned, it takes damage from the kill. So with the amount of damage I did there, I got 10 million damage saved. Then from here, switch to your day form, and then just go ahead and cast your 4th ability again. This will nuke all the enemies around you, depending on how much damage you saved up. Now, with that being said, with her abilities out of the way, time to get into the bread and butter. Farming her sucks. I'm just gonna say it. You have to farm her day and night form and then build her. That's just luck. Farm her prime. Buy her normal form if you want it for mastering. Do not farm her at all. She sucks. Oh my god, it's so horrible. Now, with that being said, that's just about it. I saved the best reason for last. It's the one that caused me the most trauma for sure. I can't even tell you how many times I tried to farm her day and night aspects. It took hours from me. It took years off my life, I'm sure. Now, with that being said, that's just about it. Tell me, what do you think about Equinox? Do you love her? Do you hate her? I know she's pretty complicated for new players. Playing her for a little bit, you can easily understand how to play her. She's not super complicated, but she's just, while she is a good form, she's so augment dependent that she needs an update. At least something to mix the augments into her instead of using them as crutches that takes away from mod spaces. But with that being said, that's just about it. Until next time.